In this week's Budget Bestie, we've got a bit of a scenario that I can definitely identify with. It looks like it's a couple who are severely living way beyond their means. There's so much going on in this budget that it's actually really difficult to sort of go through it. But the other thing about this budget is that there's so much debt, it is almost got them on their knees. Hi guys, gals and non-binary pals, welcome to Budget with Ira. My name is Ira and on this channel we talk about budgeting, paying down debt and saving up for the life that you truly deserve. If that sounds like something you like to watch, please consider subscribing to the channel because we do have a lot of fun over here, bestie. We really do. In today's video we're doing another installment of my series Budget Bestie. Budget Bestie is a series of people anonymously submit their budgets to me. I take a look at them and see what I might do if I was in their situation. This is not financial advice. However, some people might find some of the things that I'm doing beneficial or useful. The real nuggets of wisdom definitely come in the comments down below. So if you do something differently to how I do it, make sure you let me know in the comments down below because it can be really helpful, not only to me, but people who are in a similar situation to the person in this video today. So should we get on with today's video? So Bestie, today, this person's goal is to become debt-free and save for our children's futures and a home. It looks like number one would be become debt-free. Number two would be save for children's futures. Number three would be home, yeah? When I ask them what is their main financial issue, they say debt and poor budget management, which I can kind of see on the surface of it. At the bottom of every form, I ask for like prudent information, what might be helpful. And this person says, we're a family of 5, 3 children under 4 because I'm insane. We have quite a high petrol cost some months because our children need to be taken to a hospital an hour away for specialist treatment due to a rare hereditary condition. We also live 200 miles away from our families due to being a forces family, so if we visit our petrol goes up, which makes sense. I don't budget anything for myself because I never buy anything for myself. The children's needs come before my own and I just don't bother spending on myself, which is sad and it really shouldn't be that way. Some weeks I found we had takeaways more than cooking, which isn't great, and I agree on that. And I can be like guilty of that completely, but yeah, it's hard not to, like when you've been run ragged by 3 small kids, to not get a takeaway. Yeah, I completely get that. I'd love to become debt free, save for our future home and put money away for our children's futures, but also be able to give them amazing childhood filled with special memories and not have to always have this debt cloud following us around. So it sounds like and feels like the debt is becoming quite an issue. So I think what we need to do is we need to take a look at what's coming in and what we can shave away and what we can do with this debt, because I think the debt is becoming more of a problem than it needs to be. So we need to find a way to get rid of that as quickly as we possibly can, and then once that is gone, then we can start thinking about the future. So let's get into it, Bestie. Okay, Bestie, here we are. We've got the paycheck bill tracker out and we are ready to get this budget done. Now, as I said, this is probably one of the tightest budgets I've ever done, so please bear with me. But let's start with income. First is the husband's income, and that is $1,280. Now, that might seem really low, but because they're a military family, that has their housing and a lot of stuff excluded from it already, so that's what's left over after like their housing. So we've got plenty to work with here. So 1,280, and then theirs is maternity. So I'm assuming they will I'm assuming they'll go back to work eventually, but with kids as young as they have, I don't know when. And then obviously there's child benefit. Benefit, which is $223.20, which gives them $2,103.20, which is not a massive amount to deal with, but you know, we're gonna go through it. So I think the best thing for me to do is to go ahead and list all of their bills here, and then I'll talk through them with you afterwards. Okay, so here's their bill. So they've got car insurance, which is $87.96. That seems really quite high for people of their age, unless we're talking about that still seems really high. I would potentially be shopping around for that. Life insurance is good. Gas and electric is on the high end, but they did make a Note that they were paying off some arrears as well, so okay, that sort of makes sense. Both of their mobile phone bills are far too high for the UK. So it looks like they've got brand new mobile phones, which I don't know how necessary that is when you consider how much debt they're in. But that is like nearly £150 just to rent mobile phones when it just seems so. I'll be looking to downgrade those like as early as possible. You could be saving literally hundreds a month doing it that way. Home insurance, 1441, are nice and good. They've got Milkman here, which is basically getting fresh milk delivered like literally every single day. And with as many young kids as they have, they potentially could be saving quite a lot of money. Plus the quality of the milk that you're getting is a lot fresher than the supermarket. So that's potentially something that might want to stay. Internet is an okay price. TV license is what it is. TV subscriptions, it looks like there's 3 in there because it ends in 97. So there's that, and then there's Audible, which is 15.98. So their bills altogether come up to £551.17, which seems really low, but they're actually left with £1,502.03. So let's look at envelopes. So first of all, they have food, which covers their groceries and takeaways. They say that they budget £450 for that a month, and then petrol is sort of non-negotiable. They do £200 a month, which I think is pretty like all right, really, considering how much traveling they need to do. That comes up to £650, and that leaves them with £902.03. So in terms of sinking funds, there aren't any. We're actually going to call this debt, right? So they have loan number 1, which is 164.44. Loan number 2, which is their minimum is £100. Loan number 3, and their minimum is 121. And then credit card number 1, their minimum is 100. Credit card number 2 is £70. Tax bill, so they are in arrears for tax. That's £100 a month, and then they are in their overdraft, and because of that they have at least £53 of overdraft fees every single month. So their minimums on debt is £708.44, which only leaves them with £193.59. And then what they say they do every month is they put £100 to savings. Let me actually read this to you because it's a bit confusing to me. We have £140 to go into savings every month, but this comes from my husband's wage at source and is attached to a loan. Once the loan is paid off, we will have access to the funds which we saved, which is about 14 months away, but we never see the money, so we don't calculate it into our monthly budget. So I guess there's that. I don't know. So when they say it comes into the husband's wage at source, what they mean by that? So I'm going to count that within the outgoings. So if it, yeah, I guess so. So let's just count that into the incomes, right? So that's £140, which leaves you with £53.59 as a rollover. So this is an incredibly tight buffet. So already, let's even get a calculator out, right? So your minimum today is £708.44, and then your income is £2103.20, yeah? So then times by 100. So 1/3 of everything you take in goes to paying off minimums on debt. Yeah, you can't, like, I would argue that that is a very tough way to live. I'm still a bit confused about the savings thing, so I'm going to include it in the budget. So we're going to have a way for and a way without it, yeah? But now's time to get the red pen out. Now, normally I don't start massacring up bills because I feel like, you know, your bills are your bills. Do you know what I mean? But because we are literally trying to achieve so much with £53. We need to make some sacrifices, I would have thought. So first off, I would cull TV subscriptions, and I just go for one. I just go for one that is £9.99, whatever sort of makes me happy. Netflix, whatever it is, but I just have one. We're literally saving £15 here, and I would get rid of Audible. And those are the only sort of sacrifices I really feel that you can do. This needs sorting out, that needs to come down. These two phones need downgrading 100%, and then consider whether that is worthwhile. So if it's about nutrition, keep it there. If it's about cost, potentially you could do that a lot cheaper at a supermarket, but can you get to a supermarket every day with the amount of milk you're going through at the moment? And potentially you might want to put a pause on overpaying, maybe overpay a little bit less, but at the moment that's all I can really see, because everything else looks quite reasonably priced. So that makes your bills $520.21, which leaves you with $1,582.99. So we're not talking about much. I would push myself to spend £100 a week, and with a family as big as yours and with small kids as small as yours, that's a tough thing. But I've done that so that you can get a bit of relief. So mum spending and dad spending, because I think there is spending going on. It's just not budgeted for. It's gonna be really tight, right? But £5 a week is £20 a month. It gives you something. So if you want to, let's say for instance, Audible is so important to you, just don't have spending. Like, that's probably where I'd be at. So right now you're at £640, so we're saving a tenner, but we're just moving money from food into spending, which now gives you £942.99. So debt is your debt. You do need to do something about that. Well, I would say you do need to do something about that, but like, that's only because you're saying that debt is your big priority. I would not be happy if this much was coming out of everything that I earn to pay off like all of this debt. Yeah, so I'd be considering an overpayment, but based off of the wiggle room that we have, I would probably make it £91.56. Now, if this, by you saying at source, means that it comes out of the pay before you even get it, then you've got an extra 140 to add into sinking funds. So I would still keep this budget as it is. I would still make those sacrifices, but this could go into Christmas, it could go into birthdays. I would start holidays, emergency fund. I would leave it like that, yeah. But I'd have this overpayment here, which would make your amount to debt only 800. Now, if you could make it 900 by having more of it into it, even better. But like, with a family as small as yours are, like, there's only so many sacrifices that you can take, yeah. This leaves you with 142.99, yeah. So I would still keep that 140, yeah. If it goes to this savings, cool. If it doesn't go to this savings, then I'd probably move it towards sinking funds. But maybe even only 40 quid to sinking funds so that you could make that 900. I'm going to show you what the debt repayment plan looks like, because it is tight and it is going to take a long time based off of the information that I have. So, you know, this is like, there's not much wiggle room in this budget, but this budget is more about, for the time being, trying to get rid of this debt, because it's a third. It's a third of what you're bringing in. And can you imagine what you could do with £800 every month? So yeah, let's get this plan done. Okay, so we're actually going to do the snowball today. So how the debt snowball thing works is you list all of your debts from the lowest debt to the highest. And what it's supposed to do is, as you clear the smallest debt, everything that you've got sort of gains momentum and builds into the bigger one. Now, most of the debts are relatively the same amount of money. So let's list them in order of smallest debt to largest debt. So we don't know anything about interest here. So we're assuming there's like 0 interest, right? So first of all, we have tax, and what they owe is £600, and their minimum is £100 a month. Then they have credit card number 1. They owe £1,186. Their minimum is £100. Loan number 2. Then owe £1,274, which is £100. Then there's credit card number 2, which is £1,500. So they're all relatively small, but all of these are just racking up interest. They've got their overdraft next, which is £1,700, and they have to pay £53 just in interest to not even pay it off, right? Then they have loan number 1, which is £2,466.60, what they currently owe, and then it's £164.44. Then they have loan number 3. So loan number 3, and that is the last one. They owe £5,260, and their minimum is £121. So I'm assuming most of that is interest, right? They did mention in their thing that they owe £1,500, and they actually owe £1,986.60. So unless there's more than they didn't disclose of me, that's their prerogative, or maybe they just don't know what's going on. So Red Pen time, I decided that their debt sort of starting snowball would be 9156, because they need to have a sort of starting snowball in order to really make any sort of headway. So when they add that 9156 to their 100, that makes their new snowball 19156. Now at that rate, they're going to pay it off in just over 3 months. So we're going to put 3 months there just to make it easier. So the new snowball is 19156. So when they add that 19156 to their 100, sorry, the new snowball is 291.56, which means this credit card could be gone 4 months after that, yeah? And then their snowball is 291.56. Add it to the 100, that makes their new snowball 391.56, which means 3 months later, that snowball is gone. So what I'm not doing this time is I'm not calculating how much they would have paid off already, because they're probably paying at least that much in interest. So basically, you know, by the time they paid that off 3 months later, like when they come to pay this off, it's probably going to look the same because of interest, especially because we consider that they're all loans and credit cards and we don't know interest rates on it. Anyway, credit card number 2. They have a £70 minimum. When they add it to the 391.56 snowball, it now becomes 461.56. So that's gone in another 3 months. Now the overdraft, they're only paying interest, the overdraft fees. So when they are adding that number to the 461.56, that then makes their snowball 514.56, which means that that's gone in 4 months. And that's a long time to pay off an overdraft. But at least at that point, they're not, you know, they've got money for an emergency. And I know that's the wrong way to look at it, but like, they've got something. Do you know what I mean? Because at the moment it looks like they're pretty much tapped out. But anyway, 514.56 plus the 164.44 means that this snowball now becomes 679, which means loan number 1 is then paid off in 5 months' time. And then when they add that 679 to the 121, that makes their snowball £800, which means 7 months later, that debt is gone. Yeah, so it's a long plan, right? So that means they're debt free in 22 months. So that's 2 years, 27 months, I think it was. 2 years, 5 months, which is a long time. Now, if they had £100 available, if that £140 they wanted to use towards paying off their debt, this would probably cut it down by almost half. Like that's the power of like £100. But I don't know what's up with that, so I'm just assuming that's part of their budget. So yeah, that would be their debt freedom plan. It is longer because we're only adding in this 91.56. If we're able to chuck in more, it would be like considerably better. But 2 years or 5 months to pay off all of that debt, that is not nothing to be sniffed at, Bestie. So Bestie, this is their sort of budget. There's a lot of stuff that I would make changes to. Definitely I'd try to not pay as much car insurance unless there's a lot of accidents or they're extremely young. They shouldn't be paying that much. I think there's a lot of evidence of living over and above your means. If we've managed to rack up that much through like parent guilt and things like that, and wanting to have the nicest, newest phones and stuff like that, some of these things are just not necessary. There's a big lack of sort of everyday sort of like giving yourself some money to get yourself a coffee, get yourself this, get yourself that, which I think is probably leading to blowouts and sort of treating yourself because you deserve it. But if you like do this small act of kindness to yourself, it means that you don't have the guilt of adding a couple of extra £100 to your credit cards or your loans every now and then. So yeah, it's a difficult one, and it's going to take a lot of commitment and a lot of sort of stick with itness and really wanting to make this happen. So if you're really serious about getting out of debt, this is what it's going to need to take. With this savings number here, if this comes out there, then you've got more wiggle room than I planned for. So that means that I would potentially move £100 into the debt pot so that I could pay that off a hell of a lot quicker and still start some of these sinking funds for 40 quid. And then once the debt's gone, you're going to have like basically £1,000 to deal with each month, which is going to be a wonderful thing, and you can really start making differences there. So yeah, that's what I would do. I hope you like it. Please let me know down in the comments what you would do, because there are lots of different ways to figure this out. All right, thanks so much, Bestie. See you again soon. Hi guys, gals and non-binary, thank you so much for getting through to the end of the video. You know I love it when you get through to the end of the video. Please give this video some love. Make sure you like, comment, share and subscribe, and if you are going to comment, please use this emoji. So what did you think of today's video? Obviously there's an element of this person's on maternity, so potentially they might be going to work soon, but potentially they might not, because 3 young kids is a lot. Like, that's a lot. So it might just be not feasible for them to go back to work quite yet. So this maternity pay might be it for quite a while. There's also the element of this family is spending 1/3 of their income on debt, and that is not sustainable. That's not a way to live. So potentially they might want to be reaching out to some UK charities that can support them with that, things like step change and things like that, if it's becoming a real big issue. But like, I've seen debt worse than this, and I've seen debt pay out like far more than 30%, but just to pay minimums and lose 1/3 of your salary, that's significant, and that's something that, in my opinion, should probably change quite soon. But it's not all doom and gloom. There is a way out, and there is a debt plan there. I wish them the best of luck, but if there's anything you would do any differently, please let me know in the comments down below, because this is all lovely nuggets of advice. Thank you so much for getting through to the end of the video, but an extra special thank you to the channel members and the patrons who support me that little bit extra further. If you would like to join them and support me over on Patreon, please take a look at the link in the description. You will not regret it, Bestie. I am sweating so much. It is so hot, so I do need to go, Bestie. But until the next budget, Bestie, I would like you to have a wonderful day, have a wonderful week, and have a wonderful budget. Always remember, don't trust Ira. And Bestie, I will see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.